And tonight we're going to be overanalyzing the Suicide Squad 2, but not. This should just like in brackets 2, or there's an asterisk there. Okay, here's the log line. Supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of other nutty cons at the Belle Reve prison join the super secret, super shady Task Force X as they are dropped off at the remote enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese.
Infused?
Yes. Infused? Yeah, like a
Lightly
spice.
Infused with enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It was written and directed by James Gunn. Stars Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, Courtney, briefly, Peter Capaldi, and Viola Davis, amongst others. Like a lot, a pretty big, pretty solid supporting cast. Here's speaking of social nutrition, here's the social nutrition checklist. Okay. As we already heard from Andrea, no, it would not earn a reframe stamp. Was it union made? Well, yes, it was. Did it pass the Bechdel test? As far as I could tell, it did not, although on a couple occasions it came close. But, close. Close, I said. But close is not yes. Is it class conscious? Although I want to give it an honorable mention for sympathy for the underdog. No, it's not socially conscious, which means for the social nutrition checklist, our little exclusive piece, Jim, this gives it a 25%. What was interesting and is as far as, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, I may have misheard her, but I did ask her before we got on, we're the only one that she's aware of, that was the impression I got, we're the only one that she's aware of that does what we do. Like, not just in our particular format, but that incorporated into everything, we do have this analysis. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, is there 2 or 20? And but it doesn't seem like there is. So,
we got somebody else is wishing us a good night. We're knowing who the real star was tonight, which is fantastic. Richard, Katie, thanks for popping in. You're out there on the East Coast having a wonderful holiday. Looking forward to more pictures, and plus you can always pick it up. You can pick up the rest of the show in the replay. DMG, thank you very much for coming. All great questions, folks. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate the questions you asked. That was awesome. And I think it's Jim. Before we get into the spoiler zone, let's keep going. Quick review.
Let's see. I'm that early group that you sent out on the South Beach there. So I'm the cannon fodder, literally. The concept of it is of the Suicide Squad movies. It's kind of a fun one, but I actually felt it got stronger as the movie went along. I was a little worried, and I've had this before. A little worried in the first act. I found it a little bit derivative, and I'll explain why in a second. And a lot of that sort of introducing to the team and that sort of expositional and what are the powers of this person, what are the powers of that person. That thing is getting pretty old for me. So it was the second action set piece when there was an attack on a camp, basically. It was from there, which is about 35 minutes in. Then it sort of got my attention going, but sort of up until then, I was a little bit worried about how it would go. The reason why I found it derivative, not to the letter, but it reminded me of the Deadpool 2 failed mission / whole recruiting segment in that middle part there, where virtually everyone dies except for one or two of them. And sure, this would be fun if we'd never seen that before, but you can't do the Sixth Sense twice, right? And so there was some derivative. It just felt like old hat to me. But once the story was allowed to get some momentum, and it really didn't stop once they got to Cuba. Oh, I'm sorry, Corto Maltese. But once it got to the second, third act, then it actually became kind of fun. Again, this is a summer movie, or it feels like a summer movie. There's one that would have greatly appealed to me when I was a teenager, that with all the creative gore and just the sort of throwing all the usual
and gory. It was
very gory, yeah. And so it's one that you can sort of, if you're in the mood, have fun with. And I eventually did enjoy it. The performances I liked. I didn't really want to dwell too much on the first one in 2016 because I wanted to take this one on its own. But I would invent this one. Actually, I think it kept me interested. Let's just say that. And and I liked Idris Elba. I think he's underused sometimes. The Margot Robbie is she's so suited to this role. Obviously, she totally inhabits it and eats it up. One other thing I'll say too is that the movie, a lot of the good stuff is shown in the trailer. It's not always the case, but I found there's a lot of sort of spoilery bits that I would like to have preferred to have seen as I was watching it. But anyway, so ultimately I did enjoy it. I thought it was a bit of a creaky start, and I did like it eventually.
I'm with you on the creaky start. I was actually happy in the first scene, the way that first scene played out. It's like, oh, okay. It's almost, I didn't interpret it as derivative, like I was worried. And then the way it played out, I'm like, oh, this is like a palate cleanser. And now we have the interesting characters. And it's almost like you have these ridiculous ones so that the other ones look cooler, like by contrast, and more competent and more interesting. And so I was I was by the halfway through the first act when you're like, oh, geez, most of these idiots are dead. Great. I was, and like you, the further we got into the story, into the movie, the more I was just enjoying myself. I do think it does, and I'm wondering if in 5 or 10 years we're going to be talking about the James Gunn / Taika Waititi era or take on superhero movies, because they do seem to have a real knack for both having the most fun and just letting it be what it is, while at the same time kind of also kind of subverting it and having some fun undermining some of these tropes and that. So I'm kind of excited for the next 5 or 10 years. From what I understand, James Gunn is going to be doing more of these DC things. Of course, he's back on for at least one more MCU movie. It'd be interesting to see his impact.
Yeah.
I will say to everyone, like this does, you do see James Gunn in it. There's a lot of this idea of bad fathers redeeming themselves, or people without fathers finding fathers, that found family kind of thing that we've noted in a lot of other movies, but seems to be a real calling card of James Gunn's. The gore, without it being like, it's pretty gory, but you don't feel like he's reveling in pain. It's not torture-y.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't think it was until you get to the end where it's like, oh, that's horrific, but it's supposed to be. You do have to get past, and this would be the one thing that I think. One more bouquet. Because they kill so many people in the first scene, and I'm not really spoiling much. It's like our first or second scene. You get time with each character and enough time that they get to develop. And back to that breathing that we've talked about time and time again, there's moments of just, of characters revealing themselves and really revealing themselves and conflicting with others. Like, we really do get to know these people. We get to know which ones are the dipshits, which ones are. We've got a couple of killer villains. Mm-hmm. The villain that's in Viola Davis, where she's just just becomes even more awful. And yes, she's the villain on your side, but she's still a villain. Mm-hmm. A couple of the other characters, so it made for a really fun movie. You do have to, and we'll get into more of it later, but I think you do have to get past the stereotype, like a lot of Latin America stereotypes, whether it be the cheap reference to Cuba, which I thought was really lame anyway, or the at times, like there was one moment, where it's like, that's a little, if you're gonna already get into all these Latin American stereotypes, do you also have to do a bit of cultural appropriation? But if you could get past that, and I was able to, this is Hawkins cheesy. This is no off-brand cheese balls. If you can get past that, you're going to have a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a big, smart, dumb summer movie. Yeah. There you go.
I'm sort of worried for the Corto Maltese, their PR team or their tourism foundation. Really, not that many rats here. They exponentially grow over the course of the movie. But sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Jim, so worth your time? Yes or no?
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna, again, I've already given the qualifiers. With those caveats, solid recommend. It's Jim, I think this is the funnest movie of the summer so far. Of a 2021 movie. Except Love and Monsters was a lot of fun. I had fun with that stupid jolt, but this was a lot of fun of a movie that came out this year.
Yeah. I this is almost like, I think what Buddy Zach's Vegas movie was, Army of the Dead was sort of trying to strive for a little bit, but that
was a pleasant time.
Yeah.
This was a lot more fun than that.
Yeah.
Now, if this quick review only whetted your appetite and you want to dive deeper into this film, check out the replay of this episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies. Every show we go beyond the review to get into the craft, the story, and the meaning of the films we watch. And if you subscribe and ring that bell, you'll get the heads up in time to join us and the best chat on the internet live. See what I did there? Anyway, that's about it. Thanks so much for checking out our review. And bye-bye.